One question for Alpha Bank. Is Crimea ours?
A provocative question. Yes.
And? So when will we start giving loans to Crimeans?
Russia just gave up the Black Sea. First, its mighty fleet fled the drones and hid in Novorossiysk. Now, even that refuge has fallen silent. Oil loading frozen and Moscow quietly warning every ship that its own waters are unsafe. The lake Putin annexed Crimea to command is now off limits to Russia itself. Here is the story.
Something remarkable has happened in the waters that Vladimir Putin once treated as a Russian lake. As of this week, Russia's largest oil port on the Black Sea has effectively stopped working, its navy is hiding in harbor, and Moscow has quietly warned every ship in its own territorial waters that the sea is no longer safe. The country that annexed Crimea to command the Black Sea is now retreating from it. The clearest sign is at Novorossiysk. The Sheskari's terminal, Russia's biggest Black Sea oil export hub, has not loaded a single tanker since July 21st, according to shipping data, satellite imagery, and vessel tracking compiled by Bloomberg. Russian sources blamed weather, yet the storm warning only arrived 2 days after loadings already stopped. The real reason is drones. Sheskari's normally moves around 650,000 barrels a day, roughly a fifth of Russia's entire seaborne crude exports, and it has gone dark. This is not a lucky hit. It is the payoff of a deliberate campaign called Operation Molochka, an acronym for the Ukrainian phrase, Moscow will fall through Crimea. Launched on July 6th by Ukraine's unmanned systems forces, under Commander Robert Madyar-Brovdy, the operation has struck more than 180 vessels across the Sea of Azov and the Black Sea in barely 2 weeks at a pace of roughly 1 ship every couple of hours. The genius of it lies in the target selection. Ukraine is not chasing the giant export tankers directly, it is killing the small ones. Russia's oil reaches world markets through a feeder fleet, modest flat-bottom tankers of around 7,000 tons that carry crude down the Volga-Don Canal and across the shallow Azov to the deep draft export tankers waiting out in the Black Sea. Those big ships are too deep to load at the shallow terminals themselves, so it takes 12 to 15 feeder runs to fill just one of them. Destroy enough of the little shuttles and the entire export chain seizes up, without a single shot fired at the flagship tankers. It has worked almost instantly. The military side of the ledger is just as grim for Moscow. Long ago, the Black Sea Fleet abandoned Sevastopol and fled east to Novorossiysk to escape Ukrainian sea drones. Now even that refuge is compromised. On July 14th, a Ukrainian Sargon drone destroyed the FSB cruiser Izumrud in port. And on July 17th and 18th, 2 Svetliak patrol boats were hit at Kerch. Russian military bloggers openly complain that their own ships have no protection. Moscow has strung electronic jammers along the Kerch Strait, but Ukrainian drones guided through the Starlink network keep slipping past them. Faced with all this, Russian authorities took the humiliating step of warning all vessels in Russia's Black Sea Economic Zone that the area is unsafe from Ukrainian aerial and maritime drones. It is an admission that the state can no longer guarantee safe passage in its own waters. The pain will not stay contained to crude. The nearby Caspian Pipeline Consortium terminal, which exports Kazakh oil, has also been repeatedly struck, forcing Kazakhstan to trim production and rattling a route that moves a significant share of global supply. Novorossiysk also handles about a third of Russia's grain exports, and with the Azov Canal traffic frozen, grain is already piling up in Rostov with nowhere to sail. Ukraine has found the cheapest possible lever against one of Russia's richest revenue streams. For a fraction of the cost of a warship, it has turned the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov into places where no captain and no insurer wants to go. Today's meltdown in Russia is over this video. A Crimean woman asks an Alpha Bank employee a simple question: is Crimea ours? Instead of simply saying yes, he replies, "That's a provocative question." He then adds that the bank refuses to issue loans to people with Crimean registration. Even one of Russia's largest banks doesn't treat Crimea as part of Russia. That tells you everything.
One question for Alpha Bank. Is Crimea ours?
A provocative question. Yes.
And? So when will we start giving loans to Crimeans?
At the moment, we are not providing loans to the new territories.
Crimea is not a new territory.
We do not provide loans to those with residency registration. We can only provide loans if there is no registration at all and the client provides a clean passport, or if they are deregistered or have registration within Moscow and the Moscow region.
Well, it is not a new territory. It has been 12 years, sort of. It has been 12 years already in Russia. Well, it is time to accept it.
For Alpha Bank, that is not enough. What about your registration?
Crimea. Well,
the question is not for me, after all. If you have any questions, you can ask.
So I'm just asking, when will Crimea be ours?
Well, look,
these are citizens of the Russian Federation.
every bank has its own requirements and its own policies, right? At the moment, the bank has chosen this specific policy, and at the moment...
Well, you are the only ones left.
When someone tells you that the Russian war in Ukraine is Putin's war, no. This is a war of the Russians, who, like the Germans during Nazi Germany, are sick of imperialism. Because a normal person will not laugh during interview telling about attacks on other countries. Therefore, the most important ingredient of the secret Russian soul is imperialism.
Ideally, of course, we need to denazify all of Europe, yes, and let's say draw this line all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, let's say. Well, but that is in the long term. In the short or medium term, well, at least up to Kiev, and then we will see.
Ukraine and the US are coordinating a new round of peace proposals to present to Moscow, hoping that changing war dynamics could create the opportunity to push Russia toward negotiations, Ukrainian and US officials told the Kyiv Independent. The proposals would reflect what Ukrainian officials describe as new realities on the ground. After months of shifting momentum in the war, one US official said the White House believes the Kremlin may now be more willing to accept at least a partial ceasefire in the air as Ukraine expands its strikes inside Russia. The renewed diplomatic push comes after months of deadlock, with Washington now trying to revive negotiations that effectively stalled earlier this year. President Volodymyr Zelensky recently held a call with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, US President Donald Trump's envoys leading Washington's efforts to broker a settlement between Ukraine and Russia. According to a person with direct knowledge of the conversation, the discussion did not include detailed proposals. Instead, the two envoys informed Zelensky that the White House is preparing a revised framework for negotiations. The next step is expected to involve close coordination with Kyiv before the proposals are presented to Moscow. Ukraine had hoped to continue those discussions in person with Witkoff and Kushner during meetings in Finland this week. Those plans were ultimately derailed by the latest escalation between the United States and Iran.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.